A word that I've been coming across quite a lot recently is the word basic. Now, I've come across it in three contexts, or three discussions and bits of reading that I've been doing. And I've been thinking around the outsides of that. So I just want to see if I can just lay out these three ways in which it's been used, and then see if I can unpack what's being talked about there and what the possible inferences are of that. The three places it's been used is firstly in this book by Maurice Berman called Coming to Our Senses, or Coming to the Senses, and there's a chapter in there called The Basic Fault. The second use is a conversation I've been having on YouTube with Gary about evolution, and the word basic came up there to refer to a period in evolutionary history, or possibly this moment, or possibly some kind of motivating force within us, or perhaps motivating us in the past, to do with consumption and reproduction. And the claim was made there that was basic. And the third reference I came across, it was reading about Frans de Waal, who is a primatologist, and he's done a lot of work on empathy. And there, the article about his book, Age of Empathy, referred to empathy as being basic. So there's three basics there. I'm just wondering what that's about. What connects those three? They're not completely random. What connects those three is they're all claims about what it is to be human, what it is to be alive and awake, and to see other people and recognise them as alive and awake, and kind of have this thing we call humanity, or being, or whatever you want to call it. The basic fault in Berman is a claim that the basic idea of being human, the basic fact of humanity, is a separation between how we feel and how we look, broadly speaking. We come into this world with a good relationship to ourself, founded on our sensory motor system, founded on our ability to feel things, founded on ourselves being at the centre of our own world. And then at a certain point we take on the fact that we're visible to other people and identify with our image, our appearance, or even our appearance in the mirror, and kind of imagine ourselves on the outside with all of the kind of lack and all of the reduction that takes place at that point. And for Berman, and he's drawing on psychoanalysis for that idea, for Berman that's the basic fact, or one of the basic facts of being human. The second basis is this thing that Gary was talking about, which is to do that basically we are desiring machines. Basically we are interested in consumption and reproduction, and everything else is just stage dressing around that. But when you cut everything back and when you get right down to it, we are consuming and reproducing machines. And the evidence to support that comes from evolutionary biology, particularly some particular moments in evolutionary biology, and presumably some kind of Malthusian philosophy on the side of that. And this third one, the Frans de Waal's empathy thing, is the claim that whilst we might have all those other things going on for us, the basic fact of being human, which separates us from perhaps being another kind of animal, being a dog or being an ant or being a housefly or being a worm, is that we are capable of empathy, that we don't identify, that we're not desiring machines, that we're not identifying with our appearance in mirrors and our appearance in other people's eyes. We are somehow identifying with a social group. We are taking on the feelings and the desires and the wishes and the pains and pleasures of other people, and acting accordingly. And again, for that evidence, he's also drawing on evolutionary biology, but a different bit of evolutionary biology, and to do with the kind of anthropology and I guess I don't know if you can have the anthropology of apes, but the primatology, the study of primatology. So all these things are basics. They're all claims about what it is to be human, and they're all slightly different. What connects them, or what's interesting for me, is this fact that they're all, this word is used in all three cases, basic. And I think what's happening there, and one of the reasons why there's a lot of incompatibility when people talk about these things, is there's a covert metaphor being mobilised here. You know, we think in metaphors a lot of the time, even when we don't know we're doing. I'm sure that's relatively common knowledge. And one of the metaphors that we're thinking with, I believe, when we use the word basic, is a construction or a building metaphor. When you're building, you start at the base and you build up. That's what you do. And I think that's the metaphor that's being alluded to. In fact, when people say basic, they often do this gesture with their hands as if they're indicating a kind of lower level of structure. And people often substitute other words for basic, like foundational or fundamental, which are basically the same meanings. Have essentially the same meaning, that they're the bottom part of a structure, a building, on which other parts are added. But because it's at the bottom, it's probably the most important, and it's doing those kind of things. So all these three basics, all those three theories, if you like, are all participating in the same metaphor. They're just substituting different building blocks at the bottom and making different claims for what's actually at the bottom. And actually, another thing people say is that, when you get right down to it, they say, when you get right down to it, we're desiring machines. When you get right down to it, and cut away all the crap, we are basically social, empathic beings. At the bottom of it all, at the bottom of our hearts, we are basically divided with a basic fault. I mean, these are the kind of claims it's made. So this is, as I say, they're all participating in a structural, architectural, building metaphor. One of the things I think that's interesting about that is what's left out of that metaphor, because metaphors always come with lots of baggage that's usually just unspoken or just left unspoken. And the one that occurs to me with that one, and I'll have to do another video about this, I think, is that foundations imply ground. They imply land on which the foundations are built, on which the base is laid down before the superstructure can be erected. And that is very close, I think, very close to the metaphor that's used by mystics and religious types when they talk about the ground of all being. The thing that lies under the foundations, the things that precedes the laying down of the base. Because if you're going to put a foundation down, you have to have a ground to lay it down on, yeah? So I think there's actually an overlapping of metaphorical entailments and inferences going on there. But I suspect that most people who were attaching themselves to uses of the metaphor by using the word basic would not necessarily be happy extending that metaphor or accepting that it comes with other entailments, including metaphors like the ground of all being. But I think it does.